So we're getting started with social studies. We're on the last two learning pages in our magazine, page 16, that says Dutch claims. So last time we learned about French claims. Remember we talked about all the lands that France had claimed and the different people who had claimed it. Today we're talking about Dutch claims. So go ahead and follow along with me, 5th grade. So Dutch claims. In the early 1600s, fur hats were all the rage in Europe, and Dutch merchants were determined to make money from the fad. The biggest source of fur was the vast forests of North America. The best way to get the fur was to trade with the American Indians. So you guys, if the best way was to trade with American Indians, do you think the Dutch wanted to make the American Indians angry? No, because if they didn't like them, they wouldn't want to trade with them, right? The first explorer for the Netherlands, so that when you hear Dutch, that's the same as Netherlands, was an Englishman, Henry Hudson. In 1609, looking for a northwest passage to the Pacific, he sailed up what was then called the North River. It was later renamed the Hudson River for him, and we've talked about him a little bit. Hudson claimed the lands around the river for the Netherlands. By 1614, land that now includes parts of New York and New Jersey was being called New Netherland. Remember, they're very creative with their names, aren't they? Yeah. In 1621, the government of the Netherlands gave the Dutch West India Company control over all the fur trading in the area. Jack L., did you have a question or a statement? Exactly. There's also New Sweden and New Amsterdam. Exactly. Yep. New England. Ready to rock. Voices up. Chanel.
When they make stuff, they always put New in front of it. Would it still be a New York and a New York?
Well, no, there is a York and a Yorkshire, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Yorkshire and a New York.
Yeah, so New York was a play on that.
New York.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so then, waiting for you. Then in 1626, so you guys, 1621, the Dutch government said, okay, Dutch West India Company, you get to control all the fur trading. Now we're fast forwarding 5 years to 1926. It says in 1926, I think it's Minot, no, Minuit, 1626. They established a trading post called New Amsterdam. It was on the southern tip of Manhattan, where the Hudson River flows into the Atlantic Ocean. This made it an ideal location for trade. Ships could easily dock there and load up for the trip back to Europe. We've talked about how people always wanted to settle along bodies of water because trading and traveling is easier. Then in 1638, Sweden was one of the great powers of Europe. Waiting for you. Sweden, the country. It was much larger in size than it is now. Wanting to establish a fur and agricultural trade, so agriculture, remember, is like farming, the county set up the colony of New Sweden. It was located in parts of what are now Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. Peter Minuit, who had left the Dutch West India Company, was the leader of New Sweden. The Dutch were concerned that the Swedes would start trading with the, I think it's Algonquin Indians. They feared this would interfere with the trading relationship the Dutch had already established with the Algonquins. So Sweden came in and said, hey, we want to do that too. And now the Dutch are like, hey, wait a minute. We were here first. We're trading with the American Indians. Don't you dare mess up our trading agreement with them. So there's some tension between the Swedish and the Dutch settlements. All right. In 1626, the Dutch West India Company named Peter Minuit Director General of the colony of New Netherland. Its headquarters were on the island of Manhattan. That same year, I think it's Minuit, offered the local American Indians trade goods, possibly glass beads, later said to be worth about $24, which to us, $24 isn't a lot. Back then, $24 was a lot. Minuit thought he was buying the land from them. The Indians, who didn't believe that anyone could own the land, thought Minuit was paying for the right to hunt, fish, and gather food. They had no intention of giving up their right to live there. So what do you think happened because of that disagreement or miscommunication? Turn and talk. What do you think is going to happen? How many of you think that this miscommunication or disagreement is going to cause like a battle or a war or something? Or a fight? Okay. So always stop with the purge, please. 5th grade, do you think possibly it was a miscommunication because they didn't speak the same language? Possibly? Okay. And do you think also it's a little bit of a miscommunication because they have different beliefs? Yeah, because Native Americans do believe that no one can own really land. Like at this time, they didn't believe anyone could really own the land. Like the land was there, you could use it, but you didn't own it. So it would have been weird for them to say that, yes, you can own this land when they didn't even think they owned the land. Max. They speak Dutch. Yeah, right?
Yeah, they speak Dutch.
They speak Dutch. So, yes, Netherlands. The Netherlands is where they live. They're called Dutch people, and they speak Dutch as their language.
Yeah, but it's similar to German.
It is similar to German, you're right? Or Danish, yeah. Oh, wait. Danish, yes. I always forget. Yeah, Dutch is, yes. Yep, you're right. Yep. Ready to rock. All right, waiting for you. I would like to thank Mackenzie and Will and Senna and Allison and everyone else who is able to transition from one comment to the next without needing to talk to the people around them. Thank you very much. All right, we have 2 more captions to read. So first, in the late 1930s, Dutch settlers moved north on Manhattan Island and cleared more farmland. So remember, they're really getting the hang of farming, so they're clearing more land to farm. Conflicts with the local Algonquin Indians increased. So if you thought there was going to be conflict, you were right. Colonists and Indians attacked each other's farms and villages. Eventually, the colonists sent out an army that destroyed Indian villages all over New Netherland. A peace treaty was signed in 1645, but by that time, the local Algonquin population was almost destroyed. So you guys will find that usually when settlers or colonists have disagreements with Native Americans and they end up fighting, because colonists have guns, they have these diseases that they didn't even know they had that they're bringing to the Native Americans. You'll notice that oftentimes it was the Native Americans who got the shorter end of the stick. They usually lost more land, more resources, and more people because they were at a disadvantage. As the English and Dutch moved into the Northeast, they competed with the French for the fur trade, because remember, they were kind of competing for that. In 1670, English merchants set up the Hudson's Bay Company. Its goal was to colonize the land around Hudson Bay in what is now Canada and to engage in trading. This cut into the profits of the French and their Huron allies or partners. In 1664, English ships appeared off New Amsterdam. The governor immediately surrendered. In a 1667 treaty, the Dutch formally gave New Amsterdam to the English, who renamed it New York. Isn't it interesting how when a new country occupies new land in the Americas, they change the name of it? Have you noticed that? It's very interesting. Jack L. Probably not. It'd still probably be called New Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. Will. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Jacko? I think so. Yes. So, usually, like once states were established, then they would look back through their state's history and come up with names that were important to it throughout its history. And so, New Amsterdam would have been important. Zoe. Okay.
And they were just so lazy, like they can't find the username for it. They were just like, New Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, if we go off of how they would name things, they could have called it New Minnesota. Yep. All right, ready to rock? Ready to rock. Allison. They came over in, we just talked about them. No, 1620. Yep, 1620, I think. Yep, 1620. Will.
Even though there was like other people living there,
Yeah.
did it go off with like what they found? Like they just say
Yeah, yep. So they'd still let those like settlers live there if they were living there, but yeah, they wouldn't name it.
already called something.
Yeah.
How would they think of what it was?
Okay, say your question again. Okay, you can ask me later if you want to, okay? Alright, I want you to think about what we've learned in this magazine about the establishment of different settlements from like the French, the Dutch, the English. Who do you think is going to come out with the most land from this? And you can look back through the pages to see, okay, who's got what? Who do you think is going to have the most land by the end of this? And why? Turn and talk with the people around you. What? Trail mix. It's good. It's the Kirkland trail mix. Yeah, it's good. Yep. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Raise your hand if you think France is going to have the most land out of this. Yep, the French. Okay. Raise your hand if you think the Dutch are going to have the most land out of this. Raise your hand if you think the English are going to have the most land out of this. Okay. Raise your hand if you think Spain and Portugal are going to have the most land out of this. I think that's about it for like the major ones. Okay. We will have to see as we keep reading. Yeah, it was called Dutch claims. So 5th grade, I am going to tell you when our voices are off. During our next social studies period, we are going to do something a little different. We will be creating an advertisement. We're going to, so if we read from here, it says, a new colony needs settlers. So they've established a colony and they need people to live there. Advertising is a way to get people interested in making the move. Use what you learned in the magazine to create an advertisement for that purpose. Begin by deciding whether to advertise on behalf of New France or New Netherlands. So you're going to pick, okay, do I want people from France or the Netherlands to come? Then come up with reasons why people should settle there. Draw or find pictures of the area. We'll draw. Finally, put everything together in an advertisement that attracts attention and achieves your goal. So, you'll be creating an advertisement either on behalf of New France or New Netherlands, trying to get people to move there in our next social studies class. Capiche? All right. Here's what I need from you.